Jake Harrison wiped the sweat from his face as he crawled through the narrow air vent of the mining ship Starforge. The old ship always had problems with its air system. Jake was good at fixing things, so Captain Lisa Rodriguez always called him when something broke. The ship was floating near a big asteroid. They came here to dig for metals and rare stones. Jake had been working on the ship for 3 years. He liked his job because it was quiet and he could work alone most of the time. "Jake, how much longer?" Lisa's voice came through his radio. "Almost done," Jake said. He reached for his tools in the dark vent. His hand touched something cold and smooth. It was not part of the ship. Jake pulled out his flashlight. In the small beam of light he saw a strange crystal. It was about the size of his fist and glowed with a soft blue light. The crystal was beautiful, like nothing he had ever seen before. Jake tried to pull the crystal out carefully. It was stuck between 2 metal pipes. He used his knife to work it loose. The blade slipped and cut his finger. Blood dropped onto the crystal. The moment Jake's blood touched the crystal, everything changed. The crystal began to glow brighter and brighter. The whole ship started to shake. Jake heard his crew members shouting over the radio. "What's happening?" Lisa yelled. Jake did not know what to say. The crystal was now so bright he could not look at it. The air around him felt strange, like it was moving in ways that made no sense. Then there was a loud sound like thunder, and everything went quiet. The crystal cracked open like an egg. From inside came a voice that Jake heard not with his ears but inside his head. "Finally," the voice said. "I have been waiting so long." Jake crawled backward as fast as he could. Something was coming out of the crystal. It looked like smoke. At first, then it took the shape of a person, but bigger and made of light and shadow. "Do not be afraid," the being said. "I am Vexithara. You have set me free." Jake's heart was beating very fast. "What are you?" he asked. "I am what your people call the Ultimate Slayer. I have lived since the stars were young. I have traveled across the whole universe." Jake had heard stories about the Ultimate Slayer. Every space traveler knew the tales. It was a being of great power that could destroy entire worlds. Parents told scary stories about it to make children behave. "Are you going to kill us?" Jake asked. Vexithara seemed surprised by the question. "Why would I kill you? You freed me from my prison. I have been trapped in that crystal for a very long time." The radio crackled with voices from the crew. They were scared and confused. Jake could hear them talking about abandoning ship. "I should go back to my crew," Jake said. "They are worried." "Yes," Vexithara said. "I would like to meet them. It has been so long since I talked to anyone." Jake crawled out of the air vent as fast as he could. When he got to the main room of the ship, he found his crew members standing together. They all had weapons in their hands, but Jake knew the small guns would not help against something like Vexithara. Lisa saw Jake first. "Jake, what happened?" The whole ship went crazy for a minute. Before Jake could answer, Vexithara appeared in the room. The crew members stepped back and raised their weapons. Ryan Bell, the young man who handled communications, looked like he might faint. "Please do not point those at me," Vexithara said calmly. "They cannot hurt me, and I do not wish to hurt you." Dr. Amanda Foster, the ship's scientist, stared at Vexithara with wide eyes. "This is impossible," she whispered. "You're the Ultimate Slayer. You're just a story." "I am very real," Vexithara said, "and I am tired of being alone." Jake stepped between his crew and the cosmic being. "He's not going to hurt us. He just wants to talk." "How do you know that?" Lisa asked. "Because he could have killed us already, if he wanted to," Jake said. "Look at him. He has power we can't even understand, but he's just standing there talking to us." Vexithara smiled, which was strange to see on such a powerful being. "Your friend Jake is wise. I have spent millions of years watching civilizations grow and die. I have stopped threats that would have destroyed entire galaxies, but I have always been alone." Amanda put down her weapon. As a scientist, she was curious about everything. "Why are you interested in us? We're just humans. We're not special." "That is where you are wrong," Vexithara said. I have watched many species across the universe. Most of them fear me or worship me. But Jake here freed me from my prison and then worried about his crew's safety. He did not ask for power or riches. He just wanted to make sure his friends were safe. Ryan's radio started making noise. He listened for a moment, then his face went pale. Captain, we're getting emergency signals from Earth. The Zephyrian Empire has declared war on humanity. They're attacking our colonies. The room went quiet. Everyone knew about the Zephyrians. They were a powerful alien race with technology far better than anything humans had. If they wanted to destroy humanity, they probably could. This is very bad news, Lisa said quietly. Vexathera looked at Jake. What will your people do? Jake thought about all the human families living on faraway planets. He thought about Earth, where his sister lived with her children. We'll fight, he said. We always fight when someone tries to hurt innocent people, even if we can't win. Interesting, Vexathara said. Most species either run away or surrender when they face a stronger enemy, but humans choose to fight for each other. It's just who we are, Jake said. Vexathera was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke again. Jake Harrison, I would like to make a deal with you. I will help your people in this war. In return, you will be my companion. You will help me understand what it means to care about others the way you do. Jake looked at his crew members. They were all staring at him, waiting for his answer. The fate of humanity might depend on what he said next. Will you hurt innocent people? Jake asked. Not if you help me find better ways to solve problems, Vexathera said. Jake took a deep breath. Then yes, I'll help you. And with those words, the universe changed forever. 3 days had passed since Jake made his deal with Vexathera. The mining ship Starforge was now heading toward Earth as fast as it could go. Jake spent most of his time talking with the Ultimate Slayer, trying to understand what he had gotten himself into. Vexathera was not what Jake expected. The cosmic being asked many questions about simple things. He wanted to know why Jake fixed broken machines when no one forced him to do it. He was curious about why the crew members cared about people they had never met on distant planets. In all my travels, Vexathara said, I have seen species that are stronger than humans. I have seen species that are smarter, but I have never seen a species that cares so much about strangers. Jake was checking the ship's engines when Vexathera said this. We're not that special, Jake replied. We just think everyone deserves a chance to live their life in peace. Dr. Amanda Foster was nearby taking notes about everything Vexathera said. She had filled 3 notebooks already. Can you tell us more about your powers? She asked. I can move through space without a ship, Vexathera said. I can change the path of planets. I can make stars burn brighter or darker. I have destroyed entire fleets of enemy ships with a single thought. Amanda wrote quickly. But you've never used these powers to rule over anyone? Why would I want to rule? Vexathera asked. Ruling means staying in one place and dealing with endless small problems. I prefer to travel and see new things. Jake looked up from his work. Is that why you've been alone for so long? Because you don't want to be tied down? Vexathera was quiet for a moment. I have been alone because I am dangerous. When I am angry or upset, terrible things can happen. It is safer for everyone if I stay away from populated worlds. Ryan Bell ran into the engine room, looking excited and scared at the same time. Captain Rodriguez wants everyone on the bridge right now. We've got company. They all rushed to the main bridge. Through the big window, they could see 3 large ships approaching. The ships were black and had sharp edges like knives. Jake recognized them from pictures he had seen in news reports. Zephyrian warships, Captain Lisa Rodriguez said grimly. They must have followed our trail. The biggest Zephyrian ship sent a message to the Starforge. A voice spoke in accented English. Human vessel, you will surrender immediately. Prepare to be boarded. Lisa looked at her crew. They all knew that Zephyrian warships carried hundreds of soldiers. The mining ship had no weapons and no way to fight back. What do we do? Ryan asked quietly. Before anyone could answer, Vexathara stepped forward. May I handle this? He asked Jake. Jake felt nervous. This would be the first time he saw Vexithera use his powers. "Don't hurt them if you don't have to," he said. "I understand," Vexithera replied. The Ultimate Slayer closed his eyes and seemed to concentrate. Suddenly, all three Zephyrian ships stopped moving. They were completely still in space, as if time had frozen around them. "What did you do?" Amanda asked in wonder. "I have placed them in a temporary time field," Vexithera explained. "They are not hurt, but they cannot move or attack. Now I will relocate them to a safe place where they can think about their actions." The three enemy ships began to glow with the same blue light that had come from the crystal. Then they simply disappeared. "Where did you send them?" Jake asked. "To a pleasant planet with good weather and plenty of food," Vexithera said. "They can contact their leaders from there and report what happened. No one was harmed." Lisa stared at the empty space where the enemy ships had been. "You could have destroyed them easily, couldn't you?" "Yes," Vexithera said. "But Jake asked me not to hurt them if it was not necessary. I am learning that there are often better solutions than destruction." Ryan's communication equipment started making noise again. He listened to the incoming signals, and his face grew serious. "The Zephyrian attacks are getting worse. They've destroyed the colonies on New Boston and Freedom Station. Millions of people are dead." Jake felt sick to his stomach. He had friends who lived on Freedom Station. "Can we stop them?" he asked Vexithera. "I could end this war in minutes," the Ultimate Slayer said. "I could destroy their entire fleet and make their leaders surrender." "But—" Jake sensed there was more to it. "But that would solve nothing in the long term," Vexithera continued. "Fear and overwhelming force create resentment. If I destroy their military, they will spend years planning revenge. Other species would also fear humanity because of the power you have access to through me." Amanda looked up from her notes. "So, what's the alternative?" Jake thought about this problem while he looked out at the stars. "We need to show them that fighting is wrong, not just prove that we're stronger." "How do we do that?" Lisa asked. "I'm not sure yet," Jake admitted. "But there has to be a way to protect innocent people without becoming the bad guys ourselves." Vexithera smiled again. "This is why I chose you as my companion, Jake. Most beings with access to ultimate power would use it to force others to obey. You want to find a way that respects everyone's right to choose." The ship's computer announced that they would reach Earth in 2 days. Jake knew that when they arrived, everything would change. The human government would want to use Vexithera's power to win the war quickly. Military leaders would pressure Jake to agree to violent solutions. "I have a question," Jake said to Vexithera. "What happens if I ask you to do something you think is wrong?" "I would try to understand your reasons," Vexithera replied, "but I would not act against my own judgment. Our partnership only works if we both remain true to ourselves." "Good," Jake said. "I wouldn't want you to do something just because I asked." Dr. Foster had been quiet for a while, but now she spoke up. "Vexithera, you said you've been alive since the stars were young. Have you ever seen a war end peacefully?" "Yes, but rarely," the Ultimate Slayer said. "Usually it requires something that changes how both sides see the conflict. Sometimes a greater threat appears that forces enemies to work together. Sometimes one side finds a way to offer the other side something more valuable than victory." Jake had an idea, but he was not sure if it would work. "What if we could show the Zephyrians that humans are more useful as friends than as conquered enemies?" "What do you mean?" Lisa asked. "I mean, what if we help them solve a problem they can't handle alone? Something that proves we're worth keeping around?" Vexithera looked interested. "That is a creative approach, but what problem could humans solve that the technologically superior Zephyrians cannot?" Jake smiled. "I don't know yet, but I bet if we ask them nicely, they'll tell us what's bothering them." Ryan laughed despite the serious situation. "You want to ask our enemies what we can do to help them?" "Why not?" Jake said. "Most fights start because people want something they don't have. If we can help them get what they want without hurting anyone, maybe they'll stop trying to hurt us." Amanda was writing in her notebook again. "It's such a simple idea that it might actually work." Vexithera nodded approvingly. You continue to surprise me, Jake Harrison. In all my years of existence, I have rarely met someone who responds to aggression with offers of assistance. It's worth a try, Jake said. The worst thing that can happen is they say no and keep fighting. But if they say yes, we might save millions of lives on both sides. Lisa set course for Earth at maximum speed. In 2 days, they would find out if Jake's simple approach to ending a war could work against one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy. As Jake went back to his engineering work, he wondered if he was being naive or wise. Either way, he was committed to trying something different. With Vexithera as his ally, he had the power to end the war through violence, but Jake wanted to prove that sometimes the greatest strength came from choosing not to fight. 6 months after the battle with the Void Hunters, Jake stood on the observation deck of New Harmony Station, the first truly integrated galactic city. Through the large windows, he could see humans and Zephyrians working together to build homes and research facilities. Other alien species had also joined the project, creating a community unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Jake was no longer just a maintenance engineer. He had become humanity's official ambassador to the galactic community, though he still insisted on fixing broken equipment whenever he found it. Some things never changed. Nancy Williams, a diplomat he had met during the peace negotiations, stood beside him watching the construction. They had become close friends over the past months, and Jake was thinking about asking her to marry him. Even in a universe full of cosmic threats and alien alliances, people still fell in love and made plans for the future. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" Nancy said, watching a group of human and Zephyrian children playing together in the station's central park. "It's everything we hoped for," Jake agreed. Who would have thought that former enemies could become such good friends? Vexithera appeared beside them, as he often did when he wanted to share peaceful moments. The Ultimate Slayer had changed since their adventures began. He smiled more often and seemed genuinely happy for the first time in millions of years. "Jake," Vexithera said, "I have received a message from the Galactic Council. They want to meet with us about forming a new alliance to deal with cosmic threats." "What kind of alliance?" Jake asked. "One that includes species from across the galaxy, all working together to protect innocent life wherever it might be threatened." Dr. Amanda Foster joined them on the observation deck. She was now the head of the Interspecies Scientific Exchange, coordinating research projects between dozens of different alien civilizations. "The Council is nervous about your power," Amanda told Vexithera, "but they're more nervous about facing threats like the Void Hunters without your help." "I understand their concern," Vexithera replied. "Ultimate power should make people nervous. But Jake has taught me that power is only dangerous when it is used without wisdom and compassion." Ryan Bell contacted them over the station's communication system. "Jake, you need to come to the command center. We're getting some very interesting signals from deep space." They made their way to the command center, where Ryan was studying data from the galaxy's early warning systems. The screens showed energy readings from the edge of known space. "What are we looking at?" Jake asked. "It's another group of Void Hunters," Ryan said, "but this one is much larger than the last group. Maybe 100 times bigger." Jake felt his stomach drop. "Can we handle something that large?" Vexithera studied the readings carefully. "Alone, I could not defeat so many. But we are no longer alone." Admiral Price's voice came over the communication system from Earth. "Jake, we've got ships from 47 different species responding to the threat. The whole galaxy is mobilizing. Emperor," Threxmal contacted them from the Zephyrian homeworld. "Human friends, our scientists have been working with your Dr. Foster's team. We think we have found a way to help in the coming battle." "What kind of help?" Jake asked. "We have learned how to amplify Vexithera's transformation abilities," Amanda explained excitedly. "If we create a network of specially designed stations throughout the galaxy, we can help him convert the Void Hunters across a much wider area." Jake looked at Vexithera. "Would that work?" "It might," the Ultimate Slayer said. "But it would require perfect coordination between dozens of species. One mistake could result in the destruction of entire star systems. Then we won't make any Mistakes, Jake said simply. Over the next 3 weeks, the galaxy worked together like never before. Human engineers worked with Zephyrian scientists and alien technicians to build the amplification stations. Military forces from every major species coordinated their movements to protect the construction sites. Jake found himself traveling from world to world, helping to solve technical problems and settling disputes between different work teams. It was exhausting, but he had never felt more useful. Nancy often traveled with him, handling the diplomatic aspects of the project while Jake focused on the technical details. They made a good team, and Jake was more certain than ever that he wanted to spend his life with her. On the day the Void Hunter fleet arrived, Jake and Nancy were aboard the flagship Liberty, which had been converted into a mobile command center. Vexithera stood with them on the bridge, preparing for the most challenging battle of his existence. "All stations report ready," Admiral Price announced. 47 species, 300 planets, and one very brave cosmic entity standing together. The Void Hunter fleet emerged from deep space like a cloud of darkness. Jake had seen recordings of the previous battle, but this was far more terrifying in person. The enemy fleet stretched across light years of space, big enough to consume entire solar systems. "Begin the transformation sequence," Jake said. Vexithera closed his eyes and began to change, but this time he was not alone. Energy from all across the galaxy flowed into him through the amplification network. Instead of becoming a single powerful being, he became part of a galaxy-wide force for positive change. The battle was unlike anything that had ever happened in the universe. Instead of fighting the Void Hunters directly, Vexithera and the Galactic Alliance reached out to them with understanding and compassion. They showed the Void Hunters what they could become if they chose creation over destruction. Jake felt the moment when the transformation began. The dark entities started to glow with golden light. Their hunger for destruction was replaced with a desire to build and heal. "It's working," Amanda reported from her monitoring station. "The Void Hunters are changing. They're becoming builders instead of destroyers. What had once been a fleet of cosmic destroyers became a force of cosmic gardeners." The transformed beings spread throughout the galaxy, healing damaged worlds and creating new life wherever they went. As the golden light faded, Vexithera returned to his normal form. But he was different now. He was no longer the ultimate slayer. He had become something new, the ultimate guardian. "How do you feel?" Jake asked his friend. "I feel like I finally understand my purpose," Vexithera replied. "For millions of years I thought my job was to fight evil. Now I know that my real job is to help evil become good." Emperor Threxmal contacted them from across the galaxy. "My friends, our scientists report that the transformed Void Hunters are already beginning to repair the planets that were destroyed in previous attacks. Life is returning to dead worlds." Jake looked around at the bridge crew. Humans, Zephyrians, and members of a dozen other species were all working together as if they had been friends for years. "I have an announcement to make," Jake said to everyone on the bridge. He took Nancy's hand and got down on one knee. "Nancy Williams, will you marry me?" Nancy laughed and said yes. The entire bridge crew cheered, and even Vexithera applauded. 1 year later, Jake and Nancy were married on New Harmony Station in a ceremony attended by representatives from hundreds of worlds. Vexithera served as Jake's best man, which made them the first wedding party in galactic history to include a cosmic entity. During the wedding reception, Jake found a quiet moment to talk with his old friend. "Do you ever regret giving up your solitary existence?" Jake asked. "Never," Vexithera replied. "You taught me that the greatest power in the universe is not the ability to destroy, but the ability to connect with others and help them become their best selves." Jake looked out at the dance floor where humans and aliens were celebrating together. Children from a dozen different species were playing games and learning about each other's cultures. "What happens now?" Jake asked. "Now we build a better universe," Vexithera said. "One friendship at a time." As the celebration continued around them, Jake reflected on how much his life had changed. A year ago, he had been a simple maintenance engineer working on a mining ship. Now he was an ambassador, a husband, and the best friend of the most powerful being in the universe. But in many ways, he was still the same person. He still believed that everyone deserved a chance to live in peace. He still thought that fixing problems was better than fighting about them, and he still believed that ordinary people could do extraordinary things when they worked together. The universe was vast and full of challenges, but it was also full of possibilities. With friends like Vexithara and Nancy, and with allies from across the galaxy, Jake was ready to face whatever came next. As he watched the stars through the station's windows, Jake smiled. The maintenance engineer who had once worried about fixing air systems was now helping to maintain peace and friendship across the entire galaxy. Some jobs never ended, but that was okay. The best jobs were the ones that made a difference in people's lives. And Jake could not think of any job more important than helping to keep the universe a safe and happy place for everyone who lived in it. The Ultimate Slayer had chosen a human as his ally, but in the end, they had all chosen each other, and that made all the difference. 2 months had passed since the peace agreement with the Zephyrian Empire. Jake found himself living in a research station above the Zephyrian homeworld, working alongside alien scientists to find a cure for the plague that was destroying their planet. Dr. Amanda Foster had become the lead researcher on the project. She worked day and night with Zephyrian doctors, sharing human knowledge about diseases and learning about alien biology. The cooperation between the two species was going better than anyone had expected. Jake spent his time maintaining the research equipment and helping translate between human and Zephyrian technical terms. It was not glamorous work, but it was important. The research teams needed their instruments to work perfectly if they were going to find a cure. Vexithara had been quiet lately. The Ultimate Slayer spent most of his time observing the research and learning about the plague. Jake could tell that something was bothering him, but Vexithara had not said what was wrong. One evening, while Jake was repairing a microscope, Vexithara finally spoke up. "Jake, I need to tell you something important. This plague is not natural." Jake looked up from his work. "What do you mean?" "I have been studying the disease patterns and the way it affects living tissue. This plague was created artificially. Someone made it as a weapon." Dr. Foster, who was working nearby, overheard the conversation. "Are you sure?" she asked. "I am certain," Vexithara replied. "The plague has characteristics that do not occur in nature. It was designed to target Zephyrian biology specifically." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Who would do something like that? Before Vexithara could answer, alarms started going off throughout the research station. Jake ran to the communications room and found Ryan Bell trying to make sense of multiple emergency signals coming from across the galaxy. "Jake, you need to see this," Ryan said urgently. "We're getting reports of attacks on multiple star systems. But these aren't normal attacks. Entire planets are just disappearing." On the main screen, they watched recordings from a human colony, ship that had witnessed something terrible. A planet that had been home to 12 million people was simply gone. In its place was empty space and a strange dark cloud. Vexithara entered the communications room and saw the recordings. His face changed completely. "The Void Hunters," he said quietly. "They have found us." "What are Void Hunters?" Jake asked. "They are the reason I became the Ultimate Slayer," Vexithara explained. "They are beings from outside normal reality. They consume everything they touch, turning matter into nothingness. I have been fighting them for millions of years." Amanda joined them, looking frightened. "Are you saying that these things destroyed an entire planet?" "Yes," Vexithara said. "And they will destroy many more unless we stop them. The Void Hunters are not like the Zephyrians or any other enemy you have faced. They cannot be reasoned with or negotiated with. They exist only to unmake reality itself." Jake stared at the empty space where a planet used to be. "How many people live there?" 12 million, Ryan said quietly. "All gone in minutes." More reports came in over the next hour. The Void Hunters were attacking systems across the galaxy. They had already destroyed 6 planets and were moving toward more populated areas. Emperor Threxmal contacted the research station personally. "Human allies," he said. "Our scout ships report that these entities are heading for our homeworld. They will arrive in 3 days. We have to evacuate, General Stone said over the communications link from Earth. Get everyone off that planet. Immediately. There are 8 billion Zephyrians on the homeworld, the Emperor replied. We do not have enough ships to evacuate them all. Jake looked at Vexithara. Can you stop these void hunters? I can fight them, Vexithara said. But this is different from moving enemy ships or creating time fields. The void hunters require me to use my full power. When I fight them, I become something terrifying. What do you mean? Jake asked. I mean that to destroy beings who unmake reality, I must unleash forces that can remake it. The battle will be visible from other star systems. Space itself will bend and break around us. Amanda looked worried. Will you still be you afterward? Vexthara was quiet for a moment. I do not know. In the past, after fighting the void hunters, I would retreat to isolation for centuries to remember who I was. But now I have you, Jake. Your friendship grounds me in ways I did not think were possible. Jake felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders again. What can I do to help? Stay close to me during the battle, Vexithara said. Remind me what we are fighting for. Help me remember that the goal is to protect life, not just to win. The next 2 days were spent evacuating as many Zephyrians as possible. Human ships worked alongside Zephyrian vessels to move civilians to safer worlds, but there was not enough time to save everyone. On the 3rd day, the Void Hunters arrived. Jake watched from the bridge of the flagship Liberty as dark shapes emerged from empty space. They looked like holes in reality itself, places where the universe simply stopped existing. All ships, retreat to minimum safe distance, Admiral Price ordered. This is beyond anything our weapons can handle. Jake stayed on the bridge with Vexithara while the human and Zephyrian fleets pulled back. The Ultimate Slayer closed his eyes and began to change. His form grew larger and brighter until he was like a small star floating in space. Jake, Vexithara's voice echoed in his mind. Remember why we are doing this. To protect innocent people, Jake replied. Both human and Zephyrian. The battle began. Jake had seen Vexithara use his powers before, but nothing had prepared him for this. The Ultimate Slayer moved faster than light, creating explosions that lit up entire solar systems. He grabbed pieces of reality itself and used them as weapons against the Void Hunters. The Void Hunters fought back by trying to erase Vexithara from existence. Space around them turned inside out. Time moved backward and forward at the same time. Jake watched stars be born and die in seconds as the battle raged across dimensions. This is incredible, Amanda whispered. He's not just fighting them. He's recreating the rules of physics to match their power. But Jake could sense that something was wrong. Vexithara was winning the battle, but he was losing himself in the process. The Ultimate Slayer was becoming pure force without personality or restraint. Vexithara, Jake called out through their mental connection. Remember who you are. Remember why you chose to have friends. For a moment, the cosmic battle paused. Jake felt Vexithara's confusion and rage. The Ultimate Slayer was close to becoming a force of destruction as dangerous as the Void Hunters themselves. Think about Amanda's curiosity, Jake continued. Think about Emperor Threx Mole learning to trust former enemies. Think about all the people we're protecting. Slowly, Vexithara began to remember. The wild cosmic forces he was unleashing became more controlled. Instead of simply destroying the Void Hunters, he began to transform them, changing their nature from beings of destruction to beings of creation. The battle ended not with a massive explosion, but with a wave of golden light that spread across the galaxy. Where the Void Hunters had been, there were now shining entities that began repairing the damage they had caused. Vexithara returned to his normal form and collapsed onto the bridge of the Liberty. Jake knelt beside him, worried that his friend might have used too much power. Are you okay? Jake asked. I am myself, Vexithara said weakly. Thanks to you, I did not lose who I am in the battle. But Jake, there are more Void Hunters in the universe. They will come again. Then we'll face them together, Jake said. all of us. Humans, Zephyrians, and anyone else who wants to protect innocent life. Emperor Threxmol's voice came over the communication system. Human friends, Zephyrian scientists have discovered something wonderful. The golden light from your allies' battle has cured our plague. Our homeworld is healing. Jake smiled, despite his exhaustion. At least something good came from all this destruction. Vexithera sat up slowly. Something very good, Jake. Today, we learned that even the greatest evil can be transformed into good if we approach it with wisdom instead of just power. As Jake looked out at the stars, he realized that their real journey was just beginning. The universe was full of threats and challenges, but it was also full of possibilities for cooperation and growth. The Starforge arrived at Earth to find the planet surrounded by military ships. Jake had never seen so many vessels in one place. Human warships from every colony were gathering to defend their home world. When the mining ship requested permission to land, they were immediately contacted by General Patricia Stone, the head of Earth's military forces. Her face appeared on their communication screen, and she looked very tired. Captain Rodriguez, we understand you have important information about the Zephyrian attacks, General Stone said. Lisa looked at Jake. They had agreed that he should be the one to explain about Vexithara. General, we have something much more important than information. We have a potential ally. What kind of ally? The general asked. Jake stepped in front of the screen. My name is Jake Harrison. I'm an engineer, and I've made friends with someone who can help us end this war. Vexithera appeared beside Jake. The general's eyes went wide with shock. Behind her, Jake could see other military officers stopping their work to stare at the screen. I am Vexithara, the Ultimate Slayer said calmly. Your people know me by the name Ultimate Slayer. I have come to offer assistance to humanity. For several seconds, nobody on Earth said anything. Then General Stone found her voice. This has to be some kind of trick. I understand your doubt, Vexithara said. Would you like a demonstration of my abilities? Before the general could answer, alarms started going off on Earth's command station. General! Someone shouted in the background. Zephyrian ships are approaching the solar system. It's their entire main fleet. Jake looked out the window and saw hundreds of enemy ships appearing in the distance. They were big and intimidating, with weapons that could destroy cities. They're demanding that Earth surrender immediately, an officer reported to General Stone. They say they'll destroy the planet if we don't give up in 1 hour. General Stone looked back at Vexithara. If you're really who you say you are, can you stop them? Easily, Vexithara replied. But Jake has taught me that there might be better solutions than simply defeating them in battle. What do you mean? The general asked. Jake stepped forward again. We want to try talking to them first. Find out why they're so angry with humanity. Maybe we can solve this without anyone getting hurt. Admiral Kevin Price appeared on the screen next to General Stone. Son, those aliens have already killed millions of our people. They're not interested in talking. But what if they are? Jake insisted. What if their attacks are coming from fear or desperation instead of pure hatred? We won't know unless we ask. Vexithera added, in my experience, most conflicts have deeper causes than they appear to have on the surface. Jake's approach is worth attempting. General Stone looked at her advisors, then back at the screen. What exactly are you proposing? Let me talk to their leader, Jake said. Ask them what humanity did wrong and what we can do to make it right. They'll just laugh at you, Admiral Price said. Maybe, Jake agreed. But if they do, then we'll know that fighting is the only option. If they don't laugh, maybe we can find another way. The general thought for a moment. And if talking doesn't work? Vexithara spoke quietly. Then I will protect Earth and all human colonies. I give you my word. 20 minutes later, Jake found himself on the bridge of the flagship Liberty, talking directly to Emperor Threxmol of the Zephyrian Empire. The alien leader looked like a cross between a lizard and a bird, with bright green scales and large, yellow eyes. So, Emperor Threxmol said, the humans send a maintenance worker to negotiate with me. This is either very brave or very insulting. I'm not here to negotiate. Jake said honestly. "I'm here to understand. Why are you attacking us? What did we do wrong?" The Emperor seemed surprised by the question. "Your species refuses to acknowledge Zephyrian superiority. You colonize worlds without asking our permission. You act as if you belong in this galaxy." "We do belong in this galaxy," Jake said. "But so do you. There's enough space for everyone, isn't there?" "Not when your species breeds like insects and spreads to every habitable world," Emperor Threxmol replied angrily. "In 50 years you will outnumber us 10 to 1. In 100 years you will push us out of our own territory." Jake was beginning to understand. "You're not attacking us because you hate us. You're attacking us because you're afraid of us." "We fear no one," the Emperor shouted. "You fear becoming a minority in your own galaxy," Jake continued. "You fear that humans will treat you the way stronger species have treated weaker ones throughout history." Emperor Threxmol was quiet for a moment. "Your species is young and aggressive. You will want to dominate everything you encounter." "Some humans might," Jake admitted. "But most of us just want to live in peace and raise our families. What if we could prove that humanity can coexist with other species without trying to control them?" "How could you prove such a thing?" the Emperor asked. Jake looked back at Vexithara, who nodded encouragingly. "What if we helped you solve a problem that you can't handle alone? What if we showed you that humans are more valuable as friends than as conquered subjects? What problem could your primitive species solve for us?" Jake smiled. "I don't know. That's why I'm asking you. What's the biggest challenge facing the Zephyrian Empire right now?" Emperor Threxmol stared at Jake for a long time. Finally he spoke. "There is a plague affecting our home world. It kills our crops and makes our people sick. Our scientists cannot find a cure. We have been searching for a new planet to call home, but every good world is either occupied or claimed by humans. What if human scientists worked with your scientists to find a cure?" Jake suggested. "And what if we helped you heal your home world instead of looking for a new one? Why would you help us after we attacked you?" "Because helping you helps us too," Jake explained. "If your people are healthy and happy on your own world, you won't need to take ours." Dr. Amanda Foster, who had been listening to the conversation, stepped forward. "Emperor Threxmol, I'm a xenobiologist. I study alien life forms. I would be honored to work with your scientists on this plague problem," Admiral Price whispered to General Stone. "This is crazy. We should be demanding their surrender, not offering to help them." But General Stone was watching Jake carefully. "The boy might be onto something," she whispered back. "If we can solve their real problem, we solve our problem too." Emperor Threxmol considered the offer. "And what would you want in return for this assistance?" "Peace," Jake said simply. "An end to the attacks on human colonies. And maybe, if things work out well, we could become allies instead of enemies." "You would trust us to keep such an agreement?" Jake looked at Vexthera again. "We have ways to protect ourselves if you break your word, but we'd rather not have to use them." The Emperor's eyes followed Jake's gaze to the ultimate slayer. "I see. You have made a powerful friend." "Yes," Jake said, "but I hope we won't need to rely on his power. I hope we can rely on good faith and mutual benefit instead." Emperor Threxmol was quiet for several minutes. His advisors spoke to him in their own language, and there was clearly a lot of debate happening on the Zephyrian flagship. Finally, the Emperor spoke again. "Jake Harrison, I will make you a deal. If your scientists can help us save our home world, the Zephyrian Empire will sign a peace treaty with humanity. We will share our territory in this galaxy instead of fighting over it." "And if we can't help?" Jake asked. "Then we will continue this war until one of our species is extinct." Jake looked around at all the military officers who were staring at him. He was just an engineer who fixed broken air systems. Now he was responsible for the future of 2 entire species. "We'll help you," Jake said, "and we'll find a way to save your world." As the communication ended, General Stone approached Jake. "Son, you just committed humanity to solving a problem that Zephyrian scientists couldn't handle. What if we fail?" Jake looked out at the stars, where two massive fleets faced each other in tense standoff. Then at least we'll fail trying to save lives instead of destroy them. Bexthera placed a hand on Jake's shoulder. I am proud to call you my friend, Jake Harrison. Today you have shown that sometimes the greatest victories come from choosing to help your enemies instead of defeating them.